Let's talk about the merchant accounts for owners with bad credit. So if you are a business with bad credit, you want to listen to this review from A to Z. So our first provider is eMerchant Broker. So the cool thing is that eMerchant Broker is basically a Los Angeles based e-commerce merchant provider that actually specializes in high risk processing services, including businesses with poor credit. So if you have if your credit score is below 500 or let's say in the 500 or 560, do you want to really think about contacting eMerchant Broker? And we're speaking here about not only your personal credit score, but also your business credit score. So if your P.O.S score is below 80, you're like a 70 or 60, you are still considered a bad credit score sort of a business. So whether you have a personal credit score or a business credit score that's low, you want to contact eMerchant Broker. So they're based in LA, and the company's services include an online payment gateway. They have ACH processing. They do a merchant cash advance and a chargeback dispute resolution system that helps merchants such as you challenge chargebacks in a timely and effective manner. And so what we love about eMerchant Broker is that they're very flexible, okay? As a matter of fact, they actually advertise that they're able to place merchants with poor credit histories, prior bankruptcies, and tax liens out on their businesses. So this is kind of cool. Now, their underwriting is a little lengthier though. I mean, they do not approve you within 24 hours or 48 hours. It takes somewhere from 1 week to 10 days. So at least that's what we have seen. And it's one of those things where they will ask you a lot of questions. They'll want to see your financials, and they will see the four financials. Just be speaking here about your balance sheet, your income statements, also called P&L, your cash flow statements, and also your statement of owner's equity. And they'll also want to have an in-depth look into. They'll look at they'll ask for a report, a credit report. So your FICO report in depth, and they want to see everything before onboarding you. But they do actually onboard bad credit businesses, not a problem at all. But yeah, so one thing I want to say also is that before you contact the eMerchant Broker, just make sure that you have done your own due diligence and answered all the potential questions that they might ask. If you have more information, let us know in the comment section, and our team members will get back to you. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So when we talk about eMerchant Broker, we're talking about a bad credit sort of provider that really caters to a constellation of industries. Okay, as you can see on the screen here, you can see that they really cater to all kinds of industries. Apparel, they have moving companies, home goods, beauty products, pet supplies, auto parts. So that's what we love a lot. We love the fact that, I mean, they're not cheap though. Their fees are not cheap, but the cool thing is that they will onboard you no matter what. And again, I want to specify the fact that it's important to really make sure that before you actually contact eMerchant Broker that you indeed have bad credit, because sometimes you might be thinking, well, you have bad credit, but my question to you is, when was the last time you checked your FICO score, or when was the last time you checked your P.O.S score? So before you actually categorize yourself in the bad credit section, make sure that you indeed have a bad credit, because sometimes maybe you might have some inaccuracies, or you might have some chargebacks or some issues on your credit that are not they're not valid. So it might be great to dispute those charges or those categorizations before reaching out to eMerchant Broker, because eMerchant Broker is flexible, but they're not cheap. Okay, and so one thing I want to say here is that eMerchant Broker offers custom pricing for each merchant and enjoys a clean complaint record across all third-party review sites, including Triple B and also Trustpilot. The company currently maintains a 5 rating on cardpaymentoptions.com and an A+ with the Triple B. Okay, and so for more information, you can just go to eMerchant Broker's website, or you can call 1-877-301-3442. Again, the number is 877-301-3442. So just to recap what you have to do, just make sure that you do your own due diligence. You have to get your financial statements ready. So your 4 financial statements. Also, you have to just make sure that you have a recent copy, the most recent copy of your credit report. So we're talking about your credit reports at the individual level with all those 3 agencies. We're speaking about TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And on the business side, you want to have Dun & Bradstreet Experian, and Equifax. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about the best merchant accounts for our owners with bad credit. And the first search provider is eMerchant Broker. The second one I want to share with you here is Payment Cloud. So when we think about Payment Cloud, the company is based in Woodland Hills, California. And this is a merchant account provider that actually specializes in serving high-risk business types. So when we talk about high-risk business type, we're talking not only, we're not speaking just about the industry, but we're also talking about credit reports and credit scores. And so the company's products and services include point-of-sale solutions, mobile phone swappers, an online payment gateway, and virtual terminal, EMV-compatible terminals, and merchant cash advances. And Payment Cloud is actually a good option for merchants who have poor credit scores. So poor credit scores here, we're speaking about anything below 579. So, and this is at the individual level. So individual credit score below, if your FICO score is below 579, you actually are in the bad credit category, if you will. And and you also have to talk about your business credit score. So if your business credit score is below 80, you are considered in the bad credit category. So it's one of those things where Payment Cloud wants to have a clear idea, and Payment Cloud has a lengthy underwriting process. So basically, this takes about 3 to 7 days. They will onboard you, but you just have to make sure. And their requirements are kind of similar to what eMerchant Brokers has. And so, for instance, in terms of financials, they want to have a complete suite of financial statements from your business. We're speaking here about all the 4 primary financial statements. Again, I just want to remind you, we have a balance sheet, income statement, cash flow statements, and statement of owner's equity. One thing I want to say also is that in some cases, Payment Cloud wants to have additional disclosures to the financial statements. And they also might ask you for, let's say, a prior statement of your processing history. So it's one of those things where they want to have a clear idea of how much you will be processing every month through their service, okay? And one thing I want to say here is that you want to make sure that you contact somebody on the phone before you actually sign up, you sign everything. And please make sure any agreement that you have with Payment Cloud, make sure that it is in writing, because some of the sales agents may not be working for Payment Cloud, but they actually may be third-party contractors. So when we talk about Payment Cloud, I want you to really understand that, of course, they'll take care of you if you have bad credit. That's not a problem. But you also want to make sure that you keep them in the loop throughout the process. You want to keep them in the loop before, during, and after onboarding. This is really important. Payment Cloud wants to have a high level of, they maintain a high level of transparency vis-a-vis their merchants. Yeah. And what I wanted to say here is that Payment Cloud provides a dedicated account rep to all new merchants for the life of the account. And the company has not received any negative complaints on consumer forums, and it customizes its pricing according to each merchant's business type and processing history. Of course, we also have the merchant's credit score. And it's really important to understand that it's one of those things where you have to first evaluate your own needs before contacting Payment Cloud, so that you know that they can give you the best offer possible. For more information, you want to visit the Payment Cloud website, or you can call 1-888-506-7859. Again, the number is 1-888-506-7859. One thing I need to say here is that when it comes to Payment Cloud, you want to have a provider that's really great and really heavy, if you will, in terms of technology. So you want to make sure that you basically ask all questions around their technology before you get onboarded, and everything goes through your dedicated account rep, who will answer all questions. One thing I want to say here is that the sales agent, once again, the sales agent is an external party. In other words, that person is a third-party contractor, is an independent contractor, but your dedicated account rep is someone who works for Payment Cloud. So there's a difference in responsibility here. So this is why, as I was telling you earlier, whether you have promises from your sales agent or your account rep, make sure that all those promises are always in writing. You want to have a written proof of something that was discussed and that was decided on your account. This is very important because when we talk about merchant accounts, and if there are disputes, you are speaking about very hefty fees that could actually come out of those things. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about the best merchant accounts for owners with bad credit. The third player I want you to consider is called Host Merchant Services. So you have e-merchant broker, you have payment cloud, and you have Host Merchant Services. So when you think about Host Merchant Services, I want you to think about a player that has received only positive feedback on public forums with most reviewers, singling out the company's customer service for praise. Okay, and so Host offers interchange plus pricing with no early termination fees, which is really, really huge. And so there are no ETFs to all of its merchants, meaning that users will enjoy the most transparent pricing model and can cancel service without penalty. So this is really important. And one thing I want to say here is that when you think about Host Merchant Services, again, their underwriting process takes about 2 to 5 business days. And it's one of those things where they are really transparent too. And they want transparency from their from the applicants as well, from the prospective merchants. And so same thing, they will ask you for your financials. They'll ask you for some kind of, in some cases, they might ask for a business plan, especially if your transactional volume is kind of high. If you are, let's say, if you, for instance, you anticipate processing, let's say, $250,000 every year or $250,000 every month for that matter, then Host Merchant Services will ask you to provide a business plan for them to have a clear idea of what kind of business you're in. And so depending on your industry, they might ask for all kinds of documents. It's all part of the due diligence process for them to really understand what your industry is all about. One thing I want to say here, I want to really insist on the fact that do not lie during the underwriting process, during the due diligence process. If they ask you questions, please provide answers as honestly as possible. And this advice applies to your interactions with e-merchant broker, but also payment cloud. Okay, any questions they ask you, please provide. You want to provide only honest answers. Do not lie. Do not really sort of misrepresent stuff, because if something were to happen, you will lose in court. You will lose in a court of law if a court of law determines that you have provided false statements to Host Merchant Services. One thing I want to say here is that when we talk about Host Merchant Services, you need to understand that they are actually they've been in the business for a long time now, and we love the fact that they are constantly trying to revamp their service. They're trying to improve their service. So this is really good. So simply because you have bad credit doesn't really discredit you, or doesn't really disqualify you from accessing the best of the best in terms of rates, in terms of fees. Now they are expensive a little bit, yes, because again they have to mitigate their risk. If you are bad credit, you are bad credit for a reason. So they also have, so Host Merchant Services has to mitigate their risks too. So the company provides a customized pricing option for its bad credit merchant accounts, which means that the terms of each contract will depend on the merchant's specific business type, size, and time of business. So Host Merchant Services will actually evaluate your business type. What kind of business do you have? We'll think about we'll look at the size, we'll look at your time in business, and in some cases, they will look at also the legal structure of your business. So they will see whether you're an LLC, you're an LLP, you're an S corporation, a C corporation, you are an LLP, whatever you are, or even if you are a sole proprietorship. So it's one of those things where you have to evaluate your needs first. I mean, based on our experience, it's always better, whether you sign with Host Merchant Services or another provider, it's always better to sign as a business. So if you are currently operating as a sole proprietor and you are looking for a merchant account, it's better to incorporate, or at least to have a single member LLC. That way you are separating your business from your personal affairs, and that's kind of cool. And that way you also are able to contract with your EIN, not your social. So EIN stands for Employer Identification Number, and this really will provide an extra layer of protection should something happen. And again, anything can happen. So for more information, you want to see the Host Merchant Services website, or you can call 1-877-517-4678. The number once again is 877-517-4678. So after the review, where I give you the top 3 merchant accounts for owners with bad credit, let's have a quick overview about the whole conversation here. You need to understand, bad business credit or poor personal credit scores can be enough of a headache for business owners without the added roadblock of getting rejected for merchant accounts due to their credit problems. The unfortunate truth, though, is that major merchant services providers are hesitant to take on merchants with bad credit, often perceiving them to be too high of a risk for chargebacks and fraud. Okay, and it is what it is. Don't try to fight it. Okay, don't get mad at them. This is how the industry rolls anyway. Credit problems can make starting or running a business very difficult for merchants who don't know how to get a merchant account due to bad credit. And the good news is that some credit card processors specialize in bad credit merchant services, which means what? That they are willing to take on merchants with low credit scores under certain conditions, if you will. So, and in these cases, bad credit accounts are more or less treated as high-risk merchant accounts, meaning they may be subject to higher processing fees or more stringent cash reserve policies. And so although this may seem like a last resort situation for merchants, the truth is that some merchants may benefit from working with processors who are accustomed to supplying merchant services for businesses with low credit scores. Again, when I talk about low credit scores at the personal level, I'm speaking about anything below 579. Okay, and at the business level, we're speaking about anything below 80. So when you talk about paydebt score, for instance, the score goes from 0 to 100, with 80 being the average, 75 to 80 being the average. When we talk about FICO score, we're speaking about 300 to 850, with anything above 700 considered good. Okay, and it's really important to understand that it's all about what your needs are too. Because even if you have to pay a little bit in fees, it may be worth it, because the money you will be generating from revenue will be hopefully enough to cover the fees, and also help you run a profitable business. So it's one of those things where you have to think about what really works for your business and make a decision accordingly. One thing I want to say here is that the bottom line here is that for a business owner with bad credit, seeking a merchant account provider can be challenging, but it's not impossible. So when looking for a provider, it's really essential to focus on finding one that specializes in working with high-risk businesses, has a history of providing reliable services, and offers fair pricing and contract terms. And the provider should also be transparent about any fees and charges, and provide excellent customer support to help resolve any issues that may arise. Additionally, the business owner should consider working on improving their credit score to increase their chances of getting approved for merchant accounts, and potentially lower the associated fees and charges. So by taking these factors into account and selecting a processor from that I just told you earlier, eMerchant Broker, Payment Cloud, and Host Merchant Services, you as a business owner, you can find a merchant account provider that meets your needs. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. Let's quickly do a recap here. So in today's conversation, I spoke to you about the best merchant accounts for owners with bad credit. So I give you the review. So the review here, we have three players: eMerchant Broker, Payment Cloud, and Host Merchant Services. And then now, after that, I give you the overview about the whole conversation. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.